Hello everyone, my name is Super, Destiny Enthusiast, and I will be your Dungeon Master. For this dungeon, I will be explaining every encounter, mechanic, and how to solo it. If you wish to see my full flawless completion, then the link will be down below in the comments section when the video is uploaded and available. With that said, let's get into this. The first encounter is Investigate the Loot Cave. For this encounter, any weapon and any loadout will do fine. It's just an introductory encounter. Now, for this encounter, you'll have to clear out the ads around the loot cave. They will start dropping these tainted engrams. This is a debuff called Burdened by Riches. Let's just call them Burdened engrams. This debuff lasts for 30 seconds on each pickup. If the time runs out, you will die. Each time you pick up a Burdened engram, it resets the counter. As far as I know, currently, there is no limit on the stack for this debuff. Now, to get rid of this debuff, you need to go inside the loot cave to this white crystal. It will slowly absorb the debuff and cleanse you of it. It will also stop the countdown timer on the debuff. This will save you from dying. Remember this, it can save you and it can be important. Now, when the crystal is full, the floor will open up and you can jump down to the next part. You will be able to tell when the crystal is full when it keeps getting bigger and bigger and eventually stops getting bigger and the floor completely collapses and you can jump down it. Now, the next part is just killing some ads and moving on to the next encounter. Just follow my character, watch out for the Shrieker and the ads, and you should be fine. The next encounter is called Navigate the Facility. For this encounter, there will be trapdoors and switches you must be aware of, otherwise they will most likely kill you instantly. There are also pressurized traps that when stepped on will kill you. These are present in other encounters of the dungeon as well, so take note of these traps. Now, if you're extremely lucky, there is a possibility to survive them, but don't rely on that. Now, follow my character's actions and path to avoid the traps in the first room. Then, once you flick the switch, you will have to go down a tunnel and jump onto 2 falling platforms. These will give out on you rather quickly, so be prepared to move. You need to go underneath to the right side of these platforms and flick a switch. This will open the air vents in the other room. Do not activate any of the other switches in this tunnel, otherwise you will die. Once you get out of the tunnel, back into the first room, you will need to jump up into one of the air vents to proceed to the next part. Follow my character's jumps and movements and you should be fine. Once you reach the air vent, step on the plate and jump up. Now, be careful in this room as there are falling platforms and pressurized plates. Just follow what my character does and you can avoid them. These are most likely traps and will probably kill you. Please avoid them. Now, for the next part, you will need to be flicking switches to open the big doors to proceed to the next encounter. There will be traps and a Shrieker you need to be aware of, so watch out for pressurized plates in these rooms. Now, to open the big main door, you're going to need to go around flicking switches and going into rooms until you get to the terminal, but you don't need to do this. If you're a Warlock or Titan, you can simply just guide over to the half-opened flap, go inside, jump up, and access the terminal to open the first big door. Then go back down, cut across, clear out that room, kill the Shrieker, jump up to the first big door, and then flick the switch on that side to open the second big door. Then go back the way you came, jump up to that door, and kill the ads. This is easier to see in the actual footage. Once you get up there, there will be 2 doors. Go through the one I go through and you will be in the next part for the next encounter. For hunters, you're going to have to go through every single room unless you're ballsy enough and good enough to actually make the jump that I'm talking about. If you don't feel like you can make the jumps or you just don't want to risk your life on it, then you can just go around from room to room, flicking the switches to the next panels until you get to that last room where you need to go up to the terminal to activate the big door. You can take as much time as you want here, there's no rush, just make sure to flick the switches to open the panels to get to the next door, and to watch out for traps. Just make sure when you jump up to the second big door, you clear out all the ads and go through the same door that my character goes through. That will lead you to the next part of the encounter. For that part of the encounter, there will be 4 rooms with switches each, with their own number going from 1 to 4. You'll need to activate all these switches as well as clear out all the Hive and Fallen ads. Now, the order doesn't matter of which switch goes where, the path will always be the same. Just follow my character's path and it will be clear. Just go from room 1 and flick the switch, then to room 3 and flick the switch, and then to room 2 and flick the switch. Now, once you reach room 2, there will be a Fallen with a Scorch Cannon. You will need that Scorch Cannon. Remember this mechanic throughout the dungeon as it comes up a lot. Now, you will need this to open doors. Shoot the Scorch Cannon into the Fallen Oven looking thing. It's the same looking thing from the Fallen Walker public events on the planets. You can either shoot rapid fire shots from the Scorch Cannon and get it to open, or charge up a shot and get it to open. Now, once you get the door open, stay to the sides of the wall because Jimmy the Can of Death is waiting to crush you to death. On the inside of the wall, there are little indents and areas that you can go into to avoid the Ball of Death. Just go slow and make sure to be near one of the indents when the ball drops. Then, when it is dropped and cleared, follow my character up to its location, up a vent, and then jump through some debris to proceed to the first boss encounter. Now, for the first boss encounter, I recommend at least 8 Resilience and 8 Recovery. For Warlocks, go Devour, Nova Bomb. Titans, go Bubble for safety. Hunter, either go Stasis or Tether. For Exotics, I recommend Necrotic Grips for the Warlock, One-Eyed Mask for the Titan, or Saint 14's Helm. And for Hunters, Assassin's Cowl or Omnioculus is an absolute must, in my opinion. Now, I recommend using a Linear with Particle here. And for mods, Protective Light is a must here. Now, all resist mods have a place here, but I would personally recommend either double concussive or double void resistance, because the boss throws the same solar grenades Alkalites throw, but his are much larger and do a lot more damage and last a lot longer, and his void beam will absolutely destroy you if you aren't paying attention. For weapons, blinding GLs help a lot. Primary is up to you, but I would recommend Risk Runner or Trinity Ghoul. Now, the mechanics of this boss fight are simple. You need to pick up the Scorch Cannon from the Fallen Vandal and open either the room on your left or your right side by shooting the Scorch Cannon into the Fallen Ovens above the door. Once you open the doors, there will be groups of ads inside the rooms. You need to kill the ads and pick up the Burden Engrams again. Now, a quick tip, don't be afraid to absolutely burn your super or your abilities, because every time you pick up 10 Burden Engrams, you get your super and all your abilities back. Now, there will be Burden Engrams on each side that you can pick up, those sides being the left and right rooms. Once you have all the Burden Engrams you've collected from the room, you need to go to the crystal that is behind the boss that can be seen at the start of the encounter, and sit behind it as it absorbs the debuff. You can only have up to 14 Burden Engrams on each side, that being the left and right. Titans, you have a Barricade, Warlocks, you have a Rift and Devour, and Hunters, you have Invis. This makes it a lot easier for standing behind the crystal. Now, before you start DPS, keep the Fallen ads in the back of the room alive. They will steal the boss's aggro and can let you heal if needed, and also keep the boss from becoming super aggressive. That is its own separate state. If they are dead, they being the Fallen, and you go to get rid of your debuff, well, good luck to you. That boss is going to be fully focused on you. Now, to start a DPS phase, you need to have at least 25 to 28 Burden Engrams be absorbed by the crystal. I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere there. But once the DPS phase has started, there will be a text notification in the chat saying the boss has succumbed to greed. He will also move back towards the crystal. Now, an important note here. Even if the crystal is full and you have gotten all 28 Burden Engrams into it, if that text is delayed or doesn't appear in the chat, DPS will not start. This might be a bug. Until the text appears in the chat, the boss will be immune, so wait for that to appear before starting any DPS. Now, during the DPS phase, some of the rooms will be open. I usually go into the right room as it is more safer from the ads and from the boss. Now, Titans, I would pop your bubble inside the room for more DPS with Weapons of Light. Hunters, I would just focus on surviving. Warlocks, you have Rifts. Now, if the boss gets hyper aggressive and targets you, he will run all the way up to the doorways by the rooms. Don't worry, the doorways will stop him from getting in, but he can still beam you from there. Now, when this happens, get behind cover and let the Fallen take his aggro. Survival is more important than everything here. You'll need to rinse and repeat this for at least 3 to 5 DPS phases. Remember, DPS phase and DPS time is very short on this boss, just be aware of this. My first ever time killing this boss in my first run took me 7 phases. There may be better ways, but I prefer safety over everything. Now, with the first boss being dead, you will then move on to the mines encounter. Now, before heading into the mine encounter, I recommend putting on 9 to 10 resilience and then running double arc resistance, and I seriously recommend Risk Runner for the bonus resistance. Now, with that said, let's talk about this encounter. First, let's talk about sparrows. The type of sparrow you have here actually matters. If you have the Black Armory sparrow, well, congratulations, this encounter will be a lot easier for you than it was for me. If you're like me and you don't have it, make sure you have a sparrow with a short cooldown option. This will make a big difference when your sparrow gets blown up, and trust me, it will get blown up and it will probably happen. Warlocks, you have a serious advantage here. Switch to Top Tree Dawnblade. Hunters, Titans, good luck to you, and you will just have to stick with what you got. Now, for the encounter itself to start it, activate the switch on the left. Activating the one on the right will most likely kill you. Don't do it. When you flick the switch, the doors will open and you will have to sparrow down to disarm the fallen mines. You have to do this very quickly. If any of them go off, you will die. Now, along the way, there are these mine extensions, the same things from the Scourge of the Past raid if you remember them. If you go past them on your sparrow, they will make a noise and give you an extra 3 to 5 seconds for you to get to the mine. Now, there's probably a better path that you could take than the one I did in my run, but at the time of recording and editing this is the only one I knew worked for sure. I recommend you follow my path at least until the last part. Now, once you reach Mine C, there will be 2 boosters up ahead that will boost you to Mine D. Make sure you go to the booster on the right, the lower one. Warlocks, be prepared to jump off your sparrow once you get to the boosters. Hunters and Titans, you can just ride your sparrow through the booster, but be careful not to give it too much speed or not enough. If you land wrong or ram into the skull, you're going to instantly explode and die. Warlocks, you can avoid this with Top Tree Dawnblade. You can boost yourself into the launcher, then use your boost from your jump and Icarus dash to glide faster than the sparrows, and use a sword to get to the mine easier. And in my opinion, this is a lot safer. Just don't use too much of your boost initially, or you'll ram into the skull as well. Once you disarm Mine D, just move on to the next encounter, the Destroy the Shield encounter. The Destroy the Shield encounter is easy. There will be launchers you need to rotate to jump from island to island. If you fall into the water, well, you die. I wouldn't even risk touching any part of the water anywhere. You need to, again, get the Scorch Cannons from the Vandals. You'll need to use these Scorch Cannons to give powers to the launchers to send you from island to island. It is the same Fallen Oven that will give power to the launchers. Now, there will be the same crystals and burdened engrams at these islands. At one of the islands, there will be a shielded servitor. That is the island you need to go to. You need to take down its shield by getting the burdened engrams and letting the crystal absorb them. When the servitor's shield is down, kill it. If you happen to pick up any burdened engrams when the shield is down, that is fine, just go to the crystal and it will cleanse you. Now, when you kill the servitor, there will be a time on it. You need to push its corpse, yes, its corpse, to the launchers and rotate them and align the launchers so when you activate it with the Scorch Cannon, it can shoot the servitor's corpse and part of the shield generator. This will do damage to that part of the shield generator. You will need to go around from island to island doing this until the shield generator is destroyed and the shield is down. Now, I recommend using a sword as it makes pushing the corpses so much easier. I never thought I would say that. Now, a few notes. 1, go slow on the launchers, as if you go too fast, you can land weirdly and die. Don't touch the water, don't even risk it. One wrong step, and you're just dead. If you sword swipe while being boosted to an island, you're most likely dead. Hunters, use Assassin's Cowl here for the ads. It is your friend. Some of the fallen banners are objects, some of them you'll just go right through. Bungie really needs to decide on that one. Just be aware of that. Once the shield is down, you need to go to the middle island. Any launcher will take you there. Kill the Scorched Vandal, the one holding the Scorched Cannon, and align yourself with the opening. It will shoot you up to the final encounter. Just be careful not to boost yourself too much or you'll crush your entire spinal cord when your head hits the ceiling. This will happen if you go too fast. Now, for the final boss encounter, Titans and Warlocks use Well and Bubble with a sword with Whirlwind Blade. It is still really good here. And either Trinity Ghoul or Risk Runner with Blinding Aids. I recommend Helm of Saint 14 or One-Eyed Mask for the Titan, and Warlock's Necrotic Grip. Poison damage is just so nice, and it helps with the ads so much. Hunters, use either Assassin's Cowl or Omnioculus, as you're going to be using linears. I suggest Needle with Witherhoard or Needle with Risk Runner for you guys, because if you do one thing wrong, you're going to be in a much worse situation than Titans and Warlocks. It sucks that you don't really have much to play to your strengths here in this dungeon, but that just seems to be the way it is. Now, for mods, I recommend for Titans and Warlocks to use Passive Guard with Arc and Concussive Resistance. This is for all the arc nades and the dregs that will yeet as much arc stuff as they can at you for pretty much everything. Hunters use Particle Deconstruction and the mods that I already listed. Now, this encounter's mechanics are pretty much the same as the first bosses, but a little different. You need to pick up the Vandal's Scorch Cannons again, then shoot the Fallen Ovens. This will then drop the Burden Engrams from the ship docks on the ceiling/wall all over the room. You need to run around and pick up these Burden Engrams and then go to the crystal in the center of the room where the boss is. Then let the crystal absorb them. This may take a few tries before the actual DPS phase will start. Once the crystal absorbs enough of the Burden Engrams, the boss will have a text in the chat again indicating the DPS phase has started and that you can do damage to it. Do not leave the crystal until the debuff is fully cleansed, otherwise you will be at risk of dying. You'll be able to tell when you're at risk of dying when your entire screen starts to glow red and starts to enclose on you. Now, a few things to note here. 1, there will be dregs and ads everywhere. Please run arc resistance. 2, the boss will spawn with his crew, a yellow bar Shank and a yellow bar Vandal. These guys are very tanky. Kill the Shank first. I recommend using the Scourge Cannons on the Shank as a way to not waste any ammo. They will do more damage to it anyways. Now, just make sure you all understand this. After every DPS phase is over, so after you've done damage to the boss, these guys will respawn each time. Those guys being the Shank and the Vandal. They will respawn each time you've done damage to the boss. Make sure you kill them every time they respawn in. For Warlocks and Titans, for the Vandal, just go in on it with your bubble or your well with a sword. Because when that Vandal is killed, it will drop 10 Burden Engrams that will give you your super and your abilities back. I don't know why the Shank doesn't drop anything, but it just doesn't. Hunters, just kill it with a Scorch Cannon and either go invis and get the Burden Engrams and go to the crystal to let it get absorbed, or just let them despawn. Playing safe for Hunters is better than dying. 3, when doing damage to the boss with your sword, if the boss stomps you when you're swording it, just swipe back onto the island and you should be fine. You'll need to rinse and repeat this until the boss is dead. Hunters, I honestly don't know how long it will take you. You guys really get screwed on this dungeon here. It could take longer or you could be faster. Titans, you can get this done in 3 full phases if you maximize and everything goes right and nothing goes wrong. Warlocks, it might take you 4 to 5, maybe more. I recommend running Necrotic Grips because you can get poison damage on the boss, and the Well buff just isn't as strong as the Weapons of Light buff, but it helps. With that said, thank you all for watching this guide. I hope you all found it informative and helpful. Feedback is appreciated, and if I missed anything, let me know. With that said, I'll see you in the next one.